All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Here we are for the afternoon session today, January 17th. I'm still trading Nasdaq during the New York session. Thank you everyone for joining, for coming back from the morning session. And all my newcomers who missed out on the morning session, welcome back to the channel. It's good to have you back. All right. We'll give another 90 seconds or so for a few more to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Vivian, welcome back for the session. Good to have you. You were on this morning. So was Randwolf. No trouble. All right, Crypto Queen is back. Fauci's back as well. Welcome everyone. Good to have you. Oops. Let's get off of gold. We're no longer looking at that. There we go. Yeah, I've been doing that now for, I guess we're in the start of week 8, I believe. It's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. It's 6 hours of live streaming. It's basically opening the closing bell minus the lunch hour. So I haven't committed to doing this forever, but for now, I am definitely going to do both sessions. It's good for me. I like to trade, right? So it's what I want to do with my time. But I am also enjoying live streaming. So this has also been rewarding in a way that I never foresaw. So it's good to continue doing this. At some point, it might become overwhelming, or it might get to the point to where I want to trade a little less, because I did get into trading to have flexibility and free time. And right now, trading is just as busy and as involved as my previous career. So at some point, I may back off a little, but for now, I'm having a good time. So I'm glad you guys are also enjoying the content and you're showing up every day, which is also a commitment from you. And if you're committed, I'm committed. So it should be a good time. We all should improve our trading this year. Most of us find funding if that was our goal. And then we should start marching towards our financial goals for ourselves personally. So that's why I'm here. I'm sure that's why you guys are here as well. So it's good. I'm enjoying it so far. All right. I think we may have our early group that's going to be with us. So let's go ahead and get started. Just want to take a peek at where we are. I have the 15-minute up on the large screen just to see where we've been so far today. In fact, let me just move up to the hour. Maybe that's a little easier. It involves less candles, and we can see the levels. All right, let me remove this. And we took out that as well. Looks like that must have happened just recently in the last few minutes, where we got into 50% of this wick here on the hourly. Before lunch, we were marching towards this high, the high from the 9 o'clock hour, which is where we saw price fall from during the opening bell. And so we're still marching towards that. We do not have, at least on this time frame, there's not been a market structure shift. If we go down to the 15-minute, we see that shift takes place up here. That hasn't happened yet at 8:43. So we're still moving towards that. At any time, we could see a failure and price seek lower prices. So it's a possibility. It's not what I think is going to happen, but it is possible. Now, if we get down to the 5 minute, let me just get rid of these macro indicators, right? And we can see on the 5 minute is where we get to the time frame that has already broken market structure, which is why we saw the push up, and which is why we're expecting for this fair value gap to hold, and eventually we do get higher prices. So I'm going to leave it here on the 5 minute. We have the 15 minute down in the bottom left for anyone who wants a higher time frame. And anything higher than that, you should probably refer to your own charts. But for the most part, I'll be either on the 5 minute or on the 1 minute. I'll try to stay on the 5 as much as I can, unless we're looking for an entry. And yeah, we're still looking for these relative equal highs over in this corner from 9:15 and 9:30 to be swept. And in doing so, we will then target, we still have the New York high, which hasn't been touched yet. And after that, I believe, okay, we have the Asian high and the previous day high. I'm not really focusing up here that much, more or less looking at the New York high, which is the price just before the opening bell. So that's where my target is. Also, let's go and take a look at regular trading hours, because this gap presented itself early, because we essentially had 1800 open, and then price just started falling through Asia, fell through London, and then through New York morning, we saw a retracement. But we still have this huge area all the way up to 964. So let's keep that in mind, 964 as the area that price could close out on as we look at price action this afternoon. But immediate term, like I said, we're right here trying to break the high that was set at 930, and then dig into some of the London and Asia price action. All right, so I'm going to go back to electronic trading hours, but just remember, you have this whole range above us all the way up to, like I said, 963, that area. Crypto Queen. I guess I've been studying ICT since I discovered him a couple months before the 2022 started. So I was looking at some of his old stuff from like October of 2021 until January. And then he kicked in the 2022 mentorship, and I started following at that time and studying all his material. 200 ticks so far. Yep. 5 minute breaker that you were looking for. Oh, okay. So you got it during lunch. I see. I see what you're talking about. Yep. So this is what we looked at just before lunch. Crypto Queen was saying that she was looking for the 5 minute breaker, and it never happened. And so here we go. We see during lunch, it did finally retrace back down, and she was able to find an entry at around 1240, 1245, somewhere in that range. Um, and when it's coupled with a fair value gap, we call that the unicorn, where you have more confluence that price is, that you're on side and price is going in your direction. And we have an easy target here with these relative equal highs that we had marked up before. So in that case, you'd see an entry from 775 up to 843. So you're talking almost 70 points or so, as far as a TP there. We now see price returning back. Looks like it's going back for that breaker once again. Yeah, Crypto Queen, you're right. So I find that lunch is a good time to trade, especially when you have a lot of movement during London, and then you have New York kind of stall out a bit, or do a bit more consolidation. Then you'll see a move in London. The move that you actually were looking for during the New York session will happen during the lunch hour, and heading into the afternoon. So no, that was a good job, good entry. Way to stay disciplined in following your trading model, and believing in the setup when it came around, regardless of the time. Right. And for anyone who is unfamiliar with breakers, that's whenever you have a price level, um, where you have essentially what we have is a low, then a high, a lower low, and then a higher high. You would have normally expected a high, a low, a high, a lower low, and then a lower high for more movement down. Here you have this high being after this low was swept, and then you have this high being overtaken. And so what you're looking for there is for a return back down and then continue on upwards, which is what Crypto Queen got during lunch. The return back to the breaker and then a move upwards. Yeah, Rabbit. I had one trade this morning. It was down in this area where there was some consolidation and a pretty sizable retracement. Like after I was on the 1 minute, but this candle here, once it moved up, gave me confidence that, okay, we were in a safe spot. I moved my stop loss, which was down in this area. I moved it up, and then you can see this candle here crash down, took me out in profit. So my entry was below this wick here. So it took me out in profit, and then it continued on and went to the TP that I had originally had marked. So I missed out on capitalizing on that trade, but I was able to get a small loss. Small win of, I think it's like $200 or something. But nothing close to the 1200 I thought I wanted. But I just have to learn to leave my stop loss where they are, and it's a work in progress. So hopefully I get there soon. Right now, Rabbit, we're looking for these highs to be swept. These relative equal highs up at 843. Yes, for the most part, yes. I have always traded minis. I at one point was doing mostly ES, and I moved over to Nasdaq probably in July-ish, somewhere mid-year in 23. Hey, Zach, welcome back. All right. So far this hour, we do see lower prices for the equity market. S&P so far has already swept equal lows for this hour. We have the Dow has not done that, but it has made a retracement. Let me just go ahead and measure that for a second. All right, the Dow is getting close to 78. It's in between 71 and 78% retracement of the leg up move from 9 o'clock. And S&P looks, I'm sorry, Nasdaq, NQ. Nasdaq looks very similar to the Dow if you're looking at the hour. Um, but we have something different on ES. Let me just jump over to ES really quickly. All right, so we can see now ES has now finally swept those New York lows we were talking about earlier where it hadn't done that yet. NQ did it here at 10 o'clock. It just went ahead and swept down and took it there. And then so it started building up, whereas ES didn't do it. And now we have that low being swept. Okay, so now we want to see how price reacts now that we have the low being swept for NQ, ES, and the Dow. We want to see now if price wants to react strongly now from that level, or if we see a continued breakdown in price based on the dollar continuing to go up. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's because I looked. The reason why I chose NQ was for a very similar reason. Typically, I was taking 5 point take profits on when I was looking at ES. So you're looking at around $250 or so per contract. But then when I got to NQ, it was more or less 20 points that I was looking for as a TP, which yielded $400. Now the stop loss is a little bit larger, and that I had to take into account. But that $400 take profit just felt better to me than the 250. Yep. All right, everyone, we're 20 minutes in. Pretty early still. Hope everyone's enjoying the stream so far. All right, I'm going to go back to Nasdaq. Anyone who's trading the ES, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, let's see if we sweep lunchtime lows since we're down here. All right, sweet. So that entry that was taken on the breaker that Crypto Queen took during lunch is just past equilibrium, just past the 50%. I know it's hard to see it here. Green on top of green. Sorry about that. But the 50% is right there, and it just tapped below that going into discount, and that's where the 50-point move came from. Came right out of there. Now we're back down to that level, and that's why I was wondering if we're going to maybe sweep these lunchtime lows en route to this fair value gap, which also houses the 61% retracement level. Okay, there's that lunchtime low being swept. Now the 50% of the breaker. Long wick on ES. Let's see. All right, so now we see we've touched that 62% retracement level. We quickly bounce over to ES to see what Crypto Queen's talking about, the long wick. We do not see. Nope. Which wick are you referring to, Crypto Queen? Which price level or which time frame? Oh, on 1 minute. Okay, I see. Okay, it must have been one of these. All right, I switch back over. All right, now we want to see. So back on a 5 minute, we have this fair value gap here at the 61% retracement level. We had 1, 2, 3 5-minute candles trade into this level back at the end of the 10 o'clock hour from like 10:45 until 11. All three rejected out and above, and that's when we saw the impulse after those rejections. So now that we're returning back for the first time into the fair value gap, let's see how price reacts in this level. Okay, so we did get a rejection on the last candle. At the very end, we see a big push up and a close, actually a close above the 50% of the breaker, which is interesting. This next candle actually will tell us a lot. Okay, we have 50% into this wick traded into already. Let's see now if we get a push up or if we get full coverage into the wick. All right, so we've gone 3 minutes so far into the 5 minute candle. We can see that it's giving us a range above and a range below, and it's sitting right in the center. Hasn't made up its mind just yet. Looks like the range above and below are equal size. All right. I tell you, this candle looks 50-50 to me. It's been, I know you find out what exactly it's going to do in the last 20 seconds, but right now, so far, the first 4 minutes have been anyone's game, is what it's saying. We'll see. FOMC lows. Okay. All right. I don't think I remember those levels. All right. Last 30 seconds. Let's see where this candle lands. Hmm. All right. It did nothing. It was a dud. Nothing happened. Yes. 12-1 for lunch. But I'm not sure what's the official time. I don't know if it extends to 1:30 or not. I just, I've always considered it as 12-1, but I could be mistaken. Yeah, I do remember him saying something about 1:30. I don't know if 1:30 ends the lunch period or 1:30 is when um, price kind of kickstarts its next period of trading. I'm not 100% sure. But that would make sense if you think about the 90-minute quarterly theory that some people talk about. Maybe that's the 12 to 1:30 period. So yeah, it's worth revisiting and maybe looking deeper into. I just use it as 12-1 for a normal lunch period. But as far as how the algorithm works, maybe it is 1:30. Okay, but either way, so now we're on the other side. We are past 1:30, so we'll see now how price wants to react to the most recent price action, whether we seek out. Looks like we have relative equal lows here, close enough. Uh, About 4 points away, so not that relative. But still, we have a swing low here that price may want to come get. That's 752. We're about half a point away. All right, so yeah, we are definitely heading for lower prices. The Dow and the S&P are outrunning, and there looks like there's no stopping them at the current moment. And the dollar is doing the opposite, running up. Not quite the 70.8% retracement, almost. That's 46.5. We made it as far down as 48.25, so about 2 points away from 71% retracement. And we see a little bit of push for higher prices, but let's see where this candle finishes. We still have another little bit over a minute to go, so we'll wait for it to close, and then we'll decide at that point where we think it's going next. The best discount is around 71%, I would say, right in the center of that optimal trade entry. Oh, yeah, sure. So my fib starts at the opening price right here at the bottom of this candle. So what I do is I look at the move going upwards, or the leg that I want to measure, and I start from the opening price, that push price in that direction, all the way, whoops, sorry, wrong thing, back to the fib. I go from opening price to the high point. In fact, really, it's the high point of the highest closing candle, so it's here. I think I may have had that wrong. But yeah, that's how I do my fib. So the opening price of that price leg to the highest closing candle and its full extension. Uh, 10 a.m. This is a 10 a.m. candle. And then the 9:30 candle is this big price leg down. Market make a sell model on US 30. Okay. All right. Yeah, Malik, I think we have something very similar over here on Nasdaq. Nasdaq and US 30, or the Dow, seems to be following one another, with the S&P, the weaker of the two, showing lower prices. I'll bring that back later if we need it. Let's get rid of this as well. Right, we also do not need the session highs and lows unless we get out of this range and move somewhere else. Right, and we close below this breaker as well. There we go, nice and clean. But let me bounce over to the others just for quick. All right, Malik said we have a market make a sell model. So we had a break of a low here, sweep down, retrace back up for level 1, swing down here to level 2 into this consolidation zone, retracement, fair value gap, and now we're going to the last level, which should be a sweep of these lows down here. It doesn't always do that way. Sometimes it'll settle above, but for the most part, you're going to see a sweep of these lows, one or both. Right? If we move over to ES, we see ES. See, ES has swept those lows a long time ago. Let's see, about 20 minutes ago, it swept all the lows, but ES has been trading down here for quite some time. And some of these lows over here that were still prevalent for the Dow were swept during the opening bell this morning. All right, so this is ES. We can see ES leading, making new lows. And then I'm back to Nasdaq. So Nasdaq is very similar to the Dow, where the low was made earlier this morning, and it's just kind of retracing in the zone, but it hasn't swept these lows yet. But if this was also a market make a sell model, we saw this low being eclipsed here, trade down, retrace back up, second level, retrace back up. Now we should be headed for third level. Okay, if we sweep these lows, let's move up. All right, so assuming we're able to sweep this low in Nasdaq down at 689, 689, I have next marked up 657, which is the low from Tuesday. Actually, Tuesday of last week, the 8 o'clock low from last week. If we were able to sweep that level, then we're going to get caught up in the fair value gap here. So that's going to be where it's going to land. Other than that, then you're talking about the new week opening gap for this past Sunday. Well, no, actually, this is last week. Sorry, the 7th through the 12th. So this is last week's new week opening gap. if we're able to get there. But I would say our first level is here at 689, then 657. Further than that, it's the fair value gap we're going to get stuck in. All right, let's get back down to the 5-minute. And I'm monitoring the Dow now just to see if the Dow is going to sweep those lows that I mentioned. It's about 15 points away now. Okay, now we have our 2 levels marked up, the next 2. We also have our level above that we've been trying to get ever since just before lunch. Go back in with the measurement here. Okay, we finally did pass that 71% mark, headed for the fair value gap just below us. Okay, the Dow is now about 5 points away. Let's see if the Dow sweeps those lows when we enter this fair value gap. All right, the Dow just swept. And here we are entering the fair value gap right on cue. Okay, we also have S&P finding a bullish fair value gap on the 4-hour chart. Let's see if it finds some level of support there and start pushing for higher prices. And we're also want to make sure that we pay attention to Nasdaq and see how it reacts to this level. Mm, 1 hour. Okay. All right, let's start going down the time frames and seeing if there's anything that we miss or anything we need to be aware of. Three, two. Hmm. All right, I'll settle back in on the 5-minute, and now we'll just sit here for a minute. 1 hour and 4-hour breakaway gaps below. Okay. William, my trading day is kind of flat. I had an entry this morning. I moved my stop loss and got stopped out with a small partial TP, but very small, so nothing really to brag about. But there's some others who did have some really good trades, but I'm not 100% sure how the room is doing this morning. After the opening of New York it's slightly tricky. It got us stopped up in this little corner here, where we thought price was moving up, and it was a little slow. And then we had on this candle at 10:35 a big retracement, and I think that kind of pushed people back a little bit. But other than that, price has been moving, or at least then it moved to almost to these relative equal highs just before lunch. We did see a retracement here, and one of the members of one of the subscribers took a trade. There was on the 5-minute. Let's see, there was a breaker block right here. So one of the members took a entry here, and it ran up 50 points. So there's been some good wins by some of the subscribers, not by me, but yeah, we're optimistic, hopeful that this afternoon will give us another entry, hopefully something better that we can ride off and have a good trade towards the end of our day, and feel good about today's trading day heading into tomorrow. Okay, another retest of the fair value gap here. Right, if we believe that the Nasdaq is going to follow the Dow, then this level right here is up next, 689. That's the level that was just taken over by the Dow. Dow's still pushing lower. So is the S&P. We're probably going to lose this level soon and continue pushing lower. All right, move down to the 1 minute as we move into the macro. Okay, I was encouraged by this candle at 150. Saw it pushing higher. Let me move this out of the way so we can see where the wick is. Right, I was really encouraged by this candle. I wanted to see the follow up and see what the next handful of candles would do. I like that it created a fair value gap, even though on the surface it doesn't do much. Okay, let's see how this fair value gap holds price. We want to see price push through it without any issues. All right, there we go. Okay, so it did push through. Closing above would be helpful. So we'll see how this candle closes up for us. But pushing through helped us out quite a bit. We now can see, at least on this low time frame, that we have pushed through where a key level for bearish price resided. Pushing through gives us the opportunity now for bullish prices. But we do need to see price continue in this direction and continue to show us that it wants higher prices. We have equal highs here at 764. We want to see that become an area that it runs to. We want this next swing high, which also equal highs, 775. We want to see that traded into. And so there's a handful of things that we want to see. Let me move this back to the start of the macro. Right, on this low time frame, we then see that this is where we find the breaker. You can include the wicks if you like. Fair value gap sitting inside. Points. There you go. We're in. So we'll see. We'll see where everything falls. In about 15 more seconds before this candle closes. Right, meltdown of price at the end. Got to trade back down to the breaker, retesting the upper level of the breaker. Right. Now get to protect our position. There is one. All right, let's now look for the other two. Close it there. All right, so that turned out to be 3 contracts for a total of $1,000. And that was to avenge this morning by moving the stop loss and not getting that win, which I thought I was going to get a little over $1,200, and I ended up with 2. Yeah, I didn't want to get too greedy there, but ultimately I see this potentially being a buy model where we run up past these, we do a retracement, we do make another run up past this high, we do a retracement, and then we get up there. So I'm looking for this. Yeah, so this is ultimately what I'm looking for the full move. Also, that would satisfy when we was talking about getting up back up into this area, the regular trading hours. That would also get us back to that range. But if that fails and this is as high as price gets, and then we start seeing lower prices, then this upper area is going to be for later in the week. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Oh, okay. Tell Cammy I said what's up. All right. Yeah, just trying to get small wins daily, not being too greedy. Just want to get a string of wins together. Oh, thank you, Bob. Don, welcome to the channel. I don't think I've ever seen you in the live chat. Fauci, thank you. Appreciate it. The Furlani, laughter. Thanks. Who else is in a long? Who's still in? Because I know most of you have diamond hands and I don't. So who's still in? Also, for anyone who's an ICT student or is familiar with the 2022 model, so you had a sweep of a low, you had an impulse reaction out of that sweep, create a fair value gap, kept going, created another fair value gap, traded into it, and out. Low hanging fruit is a swing high nearby. So it didn't quite get there yet. And that would have been 753, 775, so about 25 points there. So this what that would have been the 2022. This right here you saw was just a breaker if you want to take a trade out of the breaker. So we had a breaker form. Remember, the breaker is low, high, lower low, higher high, right? Trade back down, 50% of the breaker, out. You also have a breaker with a fair value gap inside. So trade back into the breaker, into the fair value gap, which is the unicorn, out. So a bunch of different trading models all sitting on top of each other here, depending on what you like and which one you typically use. Oh, Wave, I haven't heard from you in a few days. Good to have you back. Glad you're still here. Well, if you've been here for 3 or 4 weeks, you know the type of progress that I've had to make over that time period. How many setups I've had that I was in, everything was looking good. I moved my stop, went to break even, ended up breaking even, and then the trade continued without me. So that's happened several times to me over the last 5 weeks or so with people watching me. So I'm getting there. I'm trying. Oh, I see. All right, Throne. All right, we're near the end of the macro here. But one thing's for sure, we did get a market structure shift during the macro period. We did get a fair value gap delivered right after that. And now that we're after 2 o'clock, we're looking at the silver bullet, which can be this fair value gap here. So it's traded into it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different candles. It's giving you an opportunity to get into a silver bullet trade here. The silver bullet would be an entry 759. You'll put your low. Well, I would put my low here. You trade based on your own risk profile, based on your own back testing. I would put my low there. I would go for a minimum of 1 to 2, which would give me 19 points. Or I would look and see if there's another pool of liquidity that I would like to target. So if I didn't like the 19-point exit here, or let's say I had multiple contracts, I could do a 19-point exit there and do another one. So it's pretty close. But then you also have this level, if you believe in that, up at 801. The good thing about this entry here on this fair value gap is the stop loss encompasses this fair value gap, so it could trade down into it just a little bit or halfway in and then trade out, and you're still surviving. Also inside is the 50% of the breaker, so it could trade down to the 50% of the breaker and trade out, and you're still in. It's just if it eclipses this swing low, then you're out, which is fine, because whenever you're trading, you're looking at different price levels. If you lose 2 swing lows, then likely you're offside or the trade's turning against you. So in that case, having it end at the bottom of this swing low is fine. You don't want to stay in a trade longer than that because you know that you're offsides. Topstep, Crypto Queen. So anyone who entered this fair value gap on this side, you already ran it up 15 points. And you made relative equal highs here. So this would be a level I would like to see traded into. All right, the dollar is seeking lower prices now. So we saw a retrace during the last hour, almost back to the opening price, and now the dollar is pushing lower. See, it just took out the 9 and 10 o'clock low. It's also taking out its lunchtime low. turning back to the origin of this price move. Keep in mind, if you're in a trade, protect yourself. Understand where price is now, where you like to exit if it turns against you. Yep, Mr. or MR, you're right about that. And like it didn't have enough juice to get where it needed to go, so it came back, refueled, and now it looks like it's ready to go. Oh, sorry. I mean, when I took it from the 10 a.m. open, I think I was on the 5-minute. Yep, so 10 a.m. open until this one, 11:40. So for this price leg, take the highest bodied candle. Right, so this body here has the highest open or close, and then take the wick of that one. This one over here has a higher wick, but the body opened lower. So I took the wick from this one. And we ended up making it down to just past 78.6%. Not necessarily the highest body before lunch start, but just that was the price leg. That's where the price leg ended, and it started retracing after that. So when I was measuring, that's just as far as I went. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the highest body before lunch. I wasn't measuring the lunch time or the AM session price leg, even though that might be what it actually is. It might be the AM session price leg, but that wasn't the intent. Hi, MR. My name is Sean. All right, sorry, screen's too small. Let me make it large enough for you. Sorry about that. Still in the middle of this trade, so I still have it marked up for anyone who took a long. It looks like these relative equal highs, which have been taken for the last two candles. So let me remove that since that level's already been taken. But we didn't push out yet, so we haven't secured the 19 points. which is based on you having to take a 9.5 point stop loss. See if this candle or the next one can push through and deliver at 1 to 2 for anyone who took that trade. All right, there you go. There you go. So anyone who took that silver bullet trade anywhere from 205 to the last time it came back at 214, there is your trade if you held it long enough and didn't move your stop. Now that that's done, we can see if it's going to do a market maker buy model and if these other levels are going to be pulled in as well. So we have this one at 782. Let me remove the long tool from there. Congrats to anyone who held that trade. Thanks, Crypto Queen. All right, Crypto Queen, let me go back. I think maybe you missed something. Let me go back to. All right. So what I was doing was, as price was retracing back during lunch, I was just looking to see how far can it go. And so the way I did that was to measure the most recent leg up that it was retracing from. So I started, because originally you asked me, what are my fib settings? And so I told you I start at the opening of the candle body from the start of the leg all the way to the highest closing body. And I take the wick off of that body. And that's where my Fibonacci stops. So I don't take the highest wick if that didn't come from the highest body. I hope that makes sense. And then I just watched the retracement back down, and I wanted an entry somewhere down here. It made sense that there's a fair value gap here. It also made sense that we were in a macro period at 150 when we saw a low put in, and then we saw a energetic move that overtook a key high, which then turned price action back into being bullish. And so now that we're bullish, I was looking for longs because we had already done enough retracement. We had changed the price model to where it was then bullish again. And then I was just looking for an entry. Thanks, Bob. I'm still working at it, still trying to get better. But I am starting to recognize the breakers more often than I used to. And one of the biggest keys for me in identifying when to take a trade or when to look for one is I really started to study price action and just following market structure. Market structure was key for me. And there was too many times where price would turn around and all of a sudden I would see the entry and it start taking off, and then I would go back and start reviewing and I said, oh, right here, it changed from bearish to bullish when it overtook that high. It's like right here is when there was a market structure shift and I didn't see it. And it was too often where I just wasn't seeing it or I wasn't looking for it. And so now I look for it more often. I also look at the macro periods, and I expect it to happen during those periods. If it happened during a different period, I'm more skeptical and less inclined to take that trade. But if it happens during the macro period, I'm more inclined to jump in. And that only comes from back testing and believing in your setup. All right, so last few minutes while I was looking at other time frames or talking about other things, let's just pick up on price and see where we are. So we had these equal highs taken right here just 3 minutes ago. So let's delete that. We've also had the next level taken right here. If we're in a market maker buy model, we will get a retracement at some point, so expect that. I'll go ahead and release that as well because we've already taken that high. And let's see, the fair value gap here, a smaller one there, and then we're back to equal highs at 825. And if we can make it to 825, okay, we definitely have equal highs here. You can see it here. Okay, if we can make it to 825, now we're back at the same level we were at earlier when we were talking about closing in this regular trading hour gap, right? From 827 all the way up to 964. And it doesn't mean that we're going to close it all in today, but it does mean that we can start trading into it and making some progress towards at least 50%. Yeah, that's a good point. Yep, these equal highs, Crypto Queen, these that I just marked out are just a hair higher than the lunchtime highs. So yeah, so next target is the lunchtime high. They're very reliable, so I can understand why they're your favorite now. Breakers and unicorns are definitely reliable. I think I've seen an Ash Trades video, if I'm not mistaken. I think I have seen one. Yes. DB, give me a second. Give me a moment. I'll send you the instructions for that. Yep. All right. Check out this link. It'll give you some instructions. First thing you want to do is you do want to go into on the lower end of TradingView where there's the brokers that you get to log into. You'll log into Tradovate with your Topstep credentials. You want to log into at that time demo trading or simulated trading. I can't remember what the category is, but you want to log into that, not the live side. You want to log into the simulated side. And then once you're in there, you'll see once you get into the link, but there's you need to go into settings and you need to change one of the options to give you TradingView access. Yep. Oh, that's okay. That's what you need to do. Yep. So before you log into TradingView, sorry. Yeah, you need to go into Tradovate. So I think it's tradovate.com or whatever their website is. And you need to log into their server like you have a Tradovate account. Then you change the option to allow you to use TradingView. Then you can go back to TradingView and log in. Sorry about that. Since there's enough people asking for it, I should probably do a tutorial video on that. So that I'll put that on my list of things to accomplish either later this week or into the weekend. And we'll get a video out next week or early next week to show exactly how to make that connection. All right. Hope everyone's enjoying the session so far. So we've had sweeps of highs from here. Then we got these equal highs. Then we got this one. All right. Next up is 825. Short from 805. Okay. Yep, same user and password. Sure is. Nope, use your Topstep credentials to log into Tradovate.com. Make sure you tell them that you want to do a simulated account or demo account or whatever. I think it's the option on the right. There's two options on the screen, the left and the right. Select the one on the right. That should then log you into Tradovate. And once you're in their platform, you then need to give the option that you want to use TradingView. And then you can go back to TradingView and log in after that happens. $7.79. Oh, 7.95. I see. Wow. Okay. Sweet. You got 10 points when that was all it gave was 10 points and you took all 10. Good job. 810 target hit. Sweet, sweet. Mm-hmm. And at 750, it's still running at 815. Yep. No FOMO and be happy with enough. That's one of the lessons I had to learn. I'm going to shift back up to 5 minutes just so we can have more of the chart in view. Look at that. All right, let's see what happens with this trend line here, this purple one. I know it's hard to see because of all the colors on the screen. Let me go back to electronic trading hours. That'll clean it up some. Back on the dollar. Let's just see where it is. But it's still making progress lower. Okay, let's give it another try. See if it can't break through that trend line we have here. Keep in mind, I only use trend lines just to show me when price is doing something different than it's done before, but not necessarily for an entry or an exit. All right, still early in this candle. We still got 3 minutes remaining. We'll want to see if this fair value gap that's created on a 15-minute will remain open. We have almost 8 minutes left on the 15-minute candle. So when that closes, we also want to take a peek down and see if that fair value gap is still there. If it is, that could mean quite a lot for support for higher prices, but also that could mean potential entry for anyone who's not currently in a long that wants to be. Okay, we see price trading above the trend line again, which is a good sign. Still have 2 minutes left, so we want to see where it lands. But so far, things are looking encouraging. Yeah, same for me, Laughter. Same for me. Yeah, while I can go in for another, I think $1,000 day is something I would consider a bonus and something I want to hang on to and try to duplicate day after day. So I'm not going to push it that much harder. If I see something that's just wide open, I'll likely take it. But I'm probably going to go in with one contract, not multiple. The last trade I think I did with 3. The one earlier today was with 2 contracts. I would like to start trading with multiple contracts going forward. Um, but after securing a win this afternoon, if anything, I'll go in with one. Yeah, Michael. I just had one just before 2 o'clock, so maybe at 1:55 ish, somewhere around there. Let me quickly bring you up to speed. All right, so the 1 o'clock hour, we just saw price breaking down, making lower prices from the lunch. But when we got down into this area, it started to slow down a bit, and then we saw it push into this fair value gap and then push out with an impulse candle that created a fair value gap. And then we then continued to see it push higher, which then created this breaker for me. I stretched the breaker across and took an entry. The breaker had a fair value gap inside, and so that was enough for me to want to go in to go long. So I went in with 3 contracts, got a total of 20 points or so. And some people entered on this fair value gap for the silver bullet after 2 o'clock. So my entry was at 157 or 158 or something like that. So it was before 2 o'clock. So I knew that wasn't the silver bullet. But these up here was after 10. And so we start calling this one the silver bullet for the day. And we lined that one up. I completed my trade. I showed what this trade would look like, and some people took it. But I'll show you where the settings are. So we bought in at 753, got out at 768 for 15 on one contract, and was at 18 points on the other 2. So an average of 17 for 3. So a total of 51 points total. So $1,000. But I had a feeling, Michael, I had a feeling it was going to run. And I thought we might be in a market maker buy model, which would then take out this level of consolidation, this level of consolidation while running for this level. But I didn't want to be greedy, so I took my victory, because this morning I had a similar trade, but it turned around on me and I ended up breaking even or had a small profit. And then as soon as it typed me out, then it ran the profit. So I felt pretty bad about that. And I wanted to make sure I secured a win this afternoon without being greedy. Yes, I'm on the 1 minute right now. I dropped to the 1 minute just so I can walk through this example with Michael, because I took the trade off of the 1 minute. So I wanted to be able to see all the details of the candles. But for the most part, I was watching the 5 minute. For the most part, yes, Crypto Queen. I'm usually entering on a 1 minute time chart. No, not really. No. Because I spent over a year paper trading. So yes, it is a little nerve wracking when you're dealing with real money and you're dealing with minis where the slightest movement and you're already looking at price in the hundreds of dollars, either positive or negative. Um, but I'm now 3 years into my trading journey, so I would say probably not that nervous. I'd say the most nervous I've ever been is trading in front of you guys. That's nerve wracking. But it also, um, I think, forces a certain level of concentration, which then makes it easier. So trading in front of you has actually made me a better trader. All right, let's get back up to the 5 minute. Let's look and see where we closed. All right, there's that trend line that I drew just to see when price would want to do something else, and we see it was not held up by that trend. We had the last two legs fail, but we actually broke through, closed right on it. This one opened up above. We'll see where it closes in the next 2 minutes, but so far things are looking really good. And that next level of liquidity is at 844. Okay, let's get rid of this one because we already passed it. Sure. So how do I backtest and journal my trades? Okay. Yeah. Let me wrap my head around how to explain that best. All right, Laughter. See you Thursday. See you. Have a good one. Don, thank you. Thank you very much. That's fine, Adam. I know you've been looking for some type of nickname for me. I'm okay with that. That works. Consequent encroachment of the hour fair value gap, 863. Okay. Oh, no problem, D. Anderson. Thank you for being here and coming along with me for my journey. It's I've said multiple times, this has really helped me out quite a bit. As much as I may be helping you, you guys are also helping me. You're keeping me honest. You're keeping me focused. You're making sure I don't break any of my rules. There's so many things that I'm gaining from doing these live streams. So thank you for showing up every day. It's really been beneficial for me. All right. All right, Bob. Sweet. Yeah, I had a similar issue. I used to have all kinds of things on my charts. I mean, if you named it, I had it, and I was afraid to get rid of it because I might forget and I might need it in the future. And now all I care about is the levels that are right in front of me and I'm looking for, and some of these fair value gaps, which I have an indicator place them and then delete them for me. But yeah, sure, I can do that as well. Let me mark that down. But that was one of the big things I took away from ICT is he always talked about how he only needed a few things on his charts. He didn't really need anything to trade. And I really took that to heart and said, well, if he doesn't need anything to trade, then what is he trading off of? Like, what exactly is telling him to do things? And for the most part, in a lot of cases, it's market structure, a breaker, and a fair value gap. If you can see those things with your eyes without drawing them, you can trade without indicators. Oh, let's see. Golden Satoshi. What do you mean? Am I looking at a discounted OTE or a higher entry up here confirmed with a breaker? If I was going to go long, if I was going long, right, my target is right here. So we are 10 points away from target. So I wouldn't go long here. But if I wanted to go long up here, then yes, what I would do is I would then have to take a measured move from down here all the way to the top. And I'd be looking for something below 50%, meaning this fair value gap looks really nice as an entry. This one right here doesn't look bad either. And it's on the 5 minutes, so I would really drop down to the 1 minute and try to find something a little tighter. So now once you get below 50, fair value gap here. So that would most likely be my entry, unless I really believe that price needed to come all the way back down. So that's where the issue goes. That's where the issue lies. And so when I look down, I'm looking at price here. It's already done trading up and down, consolidated to the side, and then took off. So I wouldn't see price needing to come in this area. I would see that area of price is being balanced and not having any inefficiencies. And so there's no need to trade back down unless price wanted to go lower. Right. And so as I continue to watch that and I look at where my OTE is, where my discount is, this fair value gap below 50% is what I will be looking at. And price may come down here to 38 and then continue on, and I wouldn't get an entry. I'll just miss that one, and I'm okay missing it. But I wouldn't want to take an entry up here looking for higher prices, and then it does a retracement down to 60, down to 780, and then go up, because now I'm in 30 points of drawdown. Right. And we're so close to the end, it's probably one of those things that price is going to run up here anyway. Because if you look at the way market structure is set up, if it goes below this point right here, now on this time frame, we're looking at bearish prices. So we would then see a trade down here. And once it gets down there, then you never know if it's coming back or not. So my guess is what's going to happen is we're going to have a bounce out of here and we're going to take this high. And then from there, we'll see what price does. But I wouldn't be interested in a long up here. We've already missed that opportunity. and we should have gotten in somewhere down here. And this is why if you've traded with me long enough, you'll see that when I miss opportunities down here, then that just means for the rest of the hour, I'm just talking about what's happening, but you don't see me jumping into a trade. All right, so we are back at that time again, just for the next hour. Uh, 1 minute, 1 p.m., 5-minute candle. Be our 5-minute bullish breaker block. Okay, let's see. Agreed, agreed, agreed. Yep, yep, yep. So I missed that one. Did not see it. But I will admit I'm not great at seeing breakers this high up in the trading zone. Right. And you're right. There is a fair value gap. Someone may want this trade. It's just, if you want that trade, this can't be your TP 844. You got to believe that price is wanting to run up higher. At that time, if you want to take that trade, you probably got to at least believe that we're pushing for these levels somewhere up in here. No, that's a good observation, Crypto Queen. Definitely looks like a good setup there. It's just not as good as the other setup that was down lower. Yep. Yeah, but this is exactly what I talk about when I say that we all have different thresholds as far as risk is concerned. And so some people are more risk averse than others. You'll see me a lot of times go in with very, very conservative lots, well, not lot sizes, but contract size. I go in with 1 or 2. But then you'll see a lot of people in the room will talk about having 4 or 5 contracts open. So it's so yeah, we're all different types of traders, but she's actually absolutely right. This is a breaker with a fair value gap on the 5-minute. It's also, you can see a fair value gap here on the 1-minute. So there could be a long here. It's just not for me. Crypto Queen, I'm also looking at the mediums. So this is the structure of my my weekly candle, weekly calendar. Sorry. Yeah, so it's medium and high impact news that I'm looking at. I do realize there was some low impact news today. Let's see what that was. Even this afternoon, there was the beige book at 2 o'clock, and Williams, FOMC member Williams, is speaking in 5 minutes. Let's see what he's going to talk about. Due to deliver opening remarks at an event hosted by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Okay, so We have no idea what he's going to talk about. I'm sure they're going to ask him, are we going to drop rates this year or whatever? And he's probably going to avoid the question, but we'll see. Okay. Let's see. Beautiful bounce on S&P. Right off the daily busy. Okay, let's see what he's talking about there. Okay, let's first go into the daily calendar. Boom, boom, boom. All right here. Bingo. Almost to the tick. Yep, because then if we break it down into the hourly, yep, we can see that happened last hour. 47, 46 and a half. Now it's trading at 47.63. Okay, almost 20 points up on ES. Congrats to anyone who caught that long and are still in or even cashed out. Oops. Yeah, let's stay on the 1 minute while we're in the macro, and then we can shift back to the 5 minute. All right, everyone. We are now 2 hours into this afternoon session. We have an hour left, 1 hour left. If everyone can do me a favor, if you're enjoying the session, please hit the like button. Definitely want you to send us a few more traders this hour. Go ahead and hit that like button, please. If we can get 100 in the room at one time. I think that's a good goal for us this afternoon. See if we can't get 100 in the room. Yep. D. Anderson, you're absolutely right. Keep your gains in your pocket. Don't give them back. Yeah, CEO, we don't control the market, so we don't have an idea. It's just we listen to what they tell us, and if they tell us it's low impact and it's not going to have a it's not going to really impact price, we trust them and hope that they tell us the truth. I sure can. Yep. Let me show you the indicators one more time. Okay, not all of them are on, but I'll show you. So first one I use is, I've already spoken about this one, but it's not free. It's a paid one, and it gives me the daily highs and lows for all the sessions: New York, Asia, London, and then just the day high and low. Right. So you see London high, London low, previous day low, New York low, Asia low, New York high. So it gives me all those levels. That's this one here. But again, there should be a free one there. I just don't know. I haven't used one. Someone else in the room should probably be able to help you. I have this EMA, which is this line that you see, the 20 EMA. Not sure why it's there, but it's there. I added it a month ago at least when someone asked me about it, and I just never took it off. And I don't know. It's good. It's good to talk about, so I leave it there. I have FVG, which is fair value gap. So it draws the fair value gaps for me. I don't have to do it. FVG Nephew Sam. It's a free indicator you have in TradingView. We have the ICT midnight and 8:30 a.m. open, also a free one in TradingView. So it just tells me, oops, let me find it. Here we go. So here's the 8:30 open, and then here's the midnight open. So it just puts those on the charts for me. And then I have NWOG, which is new week opening gap, and new day opening gap. So like this area right here says new week opening gap, January 14th to January 19th. So I know this is the new week opening gap from this past Sunday. And price likes to return there multiple times throughout the week. So I like to leave it on my chart for at least a week. So those are the indicators. So it's more of key levels for me. I want to see what the levels are. I want to know which levels haven't been taken and which ones have. If we're trading in a certain direction, I want to know where that level is to see if there's going to be reaction when we get there. Those kind of things, but not a lot of indicators that says buy or sell. Get rid of this. We don't need it. Okay, we still got the high on this candle is 843 flat, and this pool of liquidity is 843.75. Coming from this morning at 9:13. The retest at 9:30, which was a high of only 843 flat. That's what we just achieved. So we equaled the 9:30 high, but not the 9:17 high, which was almost 1 point higher. Nope, there's nothing medium for this afternoon. Nope, the last bit of news was at 9:15 this morning. In fact, there's nothing for the afternoon for the rest of the week at all this week, earlier or later. Not medium or high impact. Oh, TJ, what's up? Welcome back. Yep, relative equal highs. So we got up there almost to the high, but to me, that's close enough. Short from 831. All right. Second order block and breaker. Partial taken at 815. Okay. That's a quick 15 points, which is not bad. I mean, that's about what I got. I did it with 3 contracts, but yeah, 15 points is not a bad trade. Okay. Let's keep an eye on this level at 804, 804 flat. Yep. We're right in that 15-minute fair value gap now. the upper one. There's also one just below it. Make that a little larger so make sure everyone can see it. Let's check in on the dollar and see where it is for this hour so far. All right. So far, this hour is trading down into the wick from the last hour. So it hasn't made a new low, but it's trading into the wick. Looks like the Dow is consolidating so far this hour, not doing very much. Last hour traded inside the range of the 1 o'clock hour. And so it looks like this hour may do the same, and it just may consolidate until the end. S&P is looking slightly bullish, but only slightly. Yeah, Nasdaq is definitely the leader when it comes to the three equity indices this morning or this afternoon. When it comes to bullish momentum, Nasdaq is the leader. Michael, I'm not either. I'm not long or short. I'm still watching price, wanting to know if we're going to take out this equal highs here up at 844. We are now exiting this period here. We didn't have a market structure shift during the macro period there. All right, here's a situation where now the market structure shift has happened, but it's after the macro period, so I'm not going to use that um, as a change of direction or anything like that. Not going to use it as something to take an entry from, but I am going to continue to watch how the next few candles develop just to see where price is going. But for me to feel confident with it, I need it to happen before 310, and it happened at 312. Okay, interesting is we didn't get a close below the breaker. We got a push down below. We got a sweep of liquidity, but then it rejected and closed inside of the breaker. So like I said, let's watch the next couple candles. Let's see how they close. Let's see what type of price action we get, and use that to determine where we think price is going for the last 45 minutes. And who is that who just said it'd be nice to sweep those lows? With that Ray? It's at 788. Okay, I think Ray was looking for a sweep here, a dip into this fair value gap, so then he can go long and see 843 as a target coming from 793, which is exactly 50 points. Okay, we're down into that 15-minute fair value gap now. Okay, let's see what we get out of this fair value gap. It's really small. I don't know if you guys can see it on the screen. Make it a little larger. It's only 2 ticks. It's the size of the fair value gap. All right, Fauci, thank you for your attendance today. Thanks for being a participant and helping out in the chat. We'll see you on the next one tomorrow morning, 9:15. All right, take care. Okay, equal lows down here. All right, appreciate it. Thank you. All right. I was curious how the next couple candles would align with what just happened. With a push down, rejection, push down, close, immediately recover back into the breaker. Done for today. All right, Rabbit. Well, thank you for joining again. Triple Q calls with you. All right. Well, hopefully all that worked out for you. And we'll see you on the next one. All right. All right. So 30-second setup didn't work. It's down now into another fair value gap. Let me go back up to the 1 minute. Well, before I do, let me just measure. All right, so we do have equal lows here. Yeah, it's a trade idea I'm looking at. Not overly optimistic about it, but it's something I'm looking at as a potential. I want to see how price reacts when it gets below this level, below 793. Sweet. Okay. Inching closer, it got right down to the fair value gap, and then we saw a slight reaction from it. So we want to see it retrace a little further and sweep the lows at 793. Right, we're heading into the final half hour. Let's see if we get anything different. So far, the last 15 minutes hasn't really provided us with much. Good amount of waiting, which is always a good thing. Whenever price has you waiting, that means it's coming. And those who are patient will be the ones who get a chance to participate, and everyone else will not. So being patient's not a bad thing here. It's just if you have other things to do, maybe you want to just cancel out today and move on and just recharge the batteries a bit, refresh your mind, go do something else, and then come back tomorrow. But otherwise, if you are still looking for a setup, there still could be one. Right. Looks more like it. I don't like that it didn't sweep this low. That's concerning to me. Let's get rid of that trend line. We don't need that. I would like to see this fair value gap stay open if it can. So let's check out the 5-minute and just see what it looks like there. All right, so we got a 38% retracement, which is decent. Not ideal, but it's decent. Right, and in this case where we have potentially some long setups and we still have a target of 843, I'd be more inclined to take the trade down here somewhere just because it has 30 points to run to target, whereas I don't really need the whole 30. I could take 20 or 15 or something like that. But before, when we were looking at it, we were in this range and we were like 10 points away, which didn't really give you any ability to take a trade and exit a trade prior to it ultimately reaching its liquidity pool. There was nowhere for you to take partials, which is why I wasn't interested up here. But down here, I could be more interested. But in that case, we would need to see a retracement back into one of these fair value gaps in order to move higher. Right, there's that entry for anyone who got in at this fair value gap when it just tipped his toe into the water. Now, I'm not sure if anyone took this fair value gap, but if you did, so this one's 25 points, and this one's 44. Let's just check on the others. Just make sure everyone's moving in the same direction. Okay, the Dow and S&P are similar. They both have hammers right now. One slightly bullish, one slightly bearish. Same as the Nasdaq. So the hourly on the 3 indices look about the same. And then we have the opposite for the dollar. So let's see what happens in the last 25 minutes of this session. Okay, so this is what it looked like on the 1-minute chart. Not a single fair value gap traded back into after this one down here. Look at Al, right in the nick of time. Perfect timing. We've all been sitting here watching this for a couple of hours, and Al slides right in, sees something he likes, and jumps right in. All right, so the second fair value gap entry here just finished, delivering the 25 points, 25.5. So I'll delete that one. And that was if anyone entered at 8:14. The early entry, if you got in there, you just barely got it. Which was 44 points. For anyone who got in down at 798. Okay, we still haven't eclipsed this high, and we still haven't taken the eagle highs from earlier, from over here, relative equal highs. Okay, 20 minutes before the hour. Still another 20 minutes of trading. Yeah, you're right. If you can catch them right, Crypto Queen, it's 315 to 345 is a great time to trade. It's you. The thing I like about it is that it's not going to wait around because it doesn't have time to do that. So it's either going to go to target or it's going to be one of those consolidations at the end of the day where nothing happens. But those are the only two options. It's running out of time, and so most of the time you can see it run to target. The only thing you have to be careful for is there can sometimes be like really deep retracements because they try to capture anyone who has a really tight stop loss. They'll try to take you out of the trade. So just be careful with stop loss placement. But if you believe in a trade between 315 and 345, that is a great time to take an entry. Fifty on NQ, 97 on ES. Oh, you got to be kidding, Al. You just walked in here and cleaned up your entire day in a few minutes. Oh, man. But that's trading. It can be like that sometimes. All right, there it goes. So it finally pushed out for anyone with multiple contracts. This even entry right here may not have tapped you out. Sometimes it doesn't. So it will get right to the edge, but it'll leave you in the trade. So you got to be careful with that, especially if you have more than like 2 or 3 contracts. But we had this candle here take us all the way out. So that should have closed everyone. It's still probably equal with this one. And it is. So we had equal highs. We'll see if it wants to take the high above 843 and 3/4, or if it's happy with 843 flat. Right, all the traders in the room, if you missed out on this trade, don't feel bad. It wasn't extremely straightforward. It didn't give very easy entries, and that's how the end of the day is. It will give you an opportunity, but it won't make it easy for you. So what I would suggest is going back through during your back test is going back to the power hour, 3 to 4 o'clock every day. And if that's the time that you want to trade, start looking at how trades set up during that time period and familiarize yourself and get really comfortable taking those type of trades. Right, there we go. Thank you much. Thanks for the likes, everyone. Okay, in about 5 minutes, we'll have the final macro of the day at 350. Anyone who wants to stick around and who appreciates that macro, we could see some fireworks. So let's see what happens today. Oh, okay. Sorry about that, Mark. Hopefully the sound is improved and it doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, that's unfortunate. You missed out on that opportunity. Okay, let's see if this candle breaks through the 843 and 3/4 level. Looks like it's coming through with a lot of energy. Hopefully it's able to do that without pulling back. There it is. Right now, let's move up a level and just see what else could potentially be there for short-term targets. Not a lot on the 5 minute. Let's go to the 15. Same here. Just more of the fair value gap to dig through before it makes its way out. Let's just see where the 50% mark is on the fair value gap. Okay, so almost there. Right around 848. So let's see if it gets there by the end of the day. Again, we still have 15 minutes remaining, so let's stay optimistic. Okay, I'm going to remove this long tool since everything is already closed out. That original entry is now gone nearly 50 handles. All right, so here we can see the opening range until the closing bell. You can see where we are, where we've been. 5 minute chart. Highs, lows, in betweens. The interesting part is we made the high at the opening bell. We made the low at 10 o'clock, and then we traded in between for the rest of the day. Okay, let's see what the other indices are doing. Okay, S&P is at its highest point of the hour. So is the Dow, and so is Nasdaq. So we have all three indices pushing higher. They're at their upper limits, continuing to push higher, and we have the dollar doing the opposite. It's now about a couple ticks away from taking out the low from last hour. And just after that, it will be targeting the low from the 8 o'clock hour. So that's really where the dollar is now. It's retraced all the way back to where it was at 8 o'clock, just before news this morning. Okay, final 10 minutes now. Let me drop down to the 1 minute just so we can see it a bit more granular. Okay, judging by looking at these dotted lines, we're at the 8:30 open now. I just mentioned that the dollar was at its 8 o'clock open. And now we're here, we see this key level of 8:30 open being traded back to during the last macro of the day. Actually traded through now. Holy cow. All right, so we've gotten 30 points in 1 minute candle. Oh man. Told you the algo will throw a curveball at you at 350 if you let it. We've been struggling to make this kind of progress all day. And the largest candle that we've seen all day long comes at 350. 30-point candle. Yep, it's in the 1 hour fair value gap now. It's in one of them. There's several that overlap, but it's in one of them now, where the upper limit of that one is at 881. So it's not too far from 881. Would not surprise me if we get to this 901 level in the next couple minutes. Yep, dollar still seeking lower prices, still pushing. All right, Splash, you just showed up, but if you got in at the right time and you took the trade, then good for you. Congrats. All right, still a few more minutes, another 7 or 8 minutes. Anyone not in a position now and have any questions you want answered before the session's over, go ahead and put them in the chat now so we can start addressing those before we get off. Especially brand new people, if you're not really that versed at trading, don't sit in the dark too long. It'll stunt your growth. Go ahead and ask your questions so you can get moving and get on to the next lesson. Hey, let's see if it's a bit late, so I'm not sure if this trade will deliver 1 to 2, but we'll at least test it to see. All right, so this is a 21.5 point stop loss, 43 point TP. Keep your eye on the clock. Make sure you know where the clock is at all times if you're in a position. Keep an eye on your stop loss. Make sure you know where that is at all times if you're in a position. All right, let me first move this down to a one-to-one trade, just so people don't get caught without enough time to complete the trade. There you go, Splash. Make sure it's in your library. If you've never read it, click the link in my Discord. There is a book section. It's the only book in that section. I just started the Discord this weekend, but it's in there. Go ahead and read that book. If you don't want to read it, type in that name into YouTube, and there the audio book is there on YouTube, and you can listen to it. It's all about trading psychology, and it'll allow you to enter trades confidently and hold until your position has hit TP. Yep. Yeah. D. Anderson. I listened to him several times on YouTube, and every, I don't know, 1 to 2 months, it's good to have a refresher whenever I'm not trading the way I should, or I'm losing my confidence a bit. It's always good to refresh, listen to those same lessons again, so I know to trust myself. Because occasionally it will happen where you'll lose that kind of confidence. This book gives that back to you. Okay, 158, 2 more minutes before the end of the hour. And if you're in a funded account, you have another 10 minutes. So you have until 10 after 4 o'clock. So the end of this macro period. There's about 12 minutes left if you're in a funded account to close your position. Or if I'm not mistaken, they'll help you by closing it for you. Okay, let's keep watching, see if we can at least get this 1-to-1 before time expires, which will deliver 20 points to anyone who entered at the very top edge of the fair value gap. If you got in anywhere, well, actually, you couldn't have gotten in into the fair value gap because it only went in by 1 or 2 ticks. So it gave one entry and that was it. Everyone else, if you wanted this entry and you missed it, you had to get in up here. So you're a few points off, maybe 4 or 5 points off. All right, 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 10 minutes left for anyone still in a position. You got 10 minutes to close out. For anyone who just jumped in right here and said, okay, it's finally come back to the entry. I'm going to get in now. You have 10 minutes to decide what to do with your trade. Yes, we got Discord from this weekend. I did set it up. There's still a lot of work to be done, but it is now open for business. Go ahead and click the link in my description, and then you'll be inside of the Discord, and then we can start going from there, where we can have discussions outside of the live streams. We can also share charts, share ideas, all of those things. All right. Any additional questions? I'm going to hang on for a few more minutes and see how this trade setup works out. I want to see if it at least delivers a 1-to-1, if not a 1-to-2, for anyone who entered. But I do want to make myself available to anyone who has additional questions. So please put them in the chat if you have them. And while you're thinking about it, go ahead and hit the like button, the subscribe button, all those things. All right. As much as I like the like button, if you don't want to hit the like button, but you are enjoying the content, and you think the like button doesn't really do much, hit the share button and share it with a friend who's also a trader or someone who's interested, and have them join the live stream. That I think that's probably more helpful than hitting the like button. But if you don't want to do anything and you just want to do something that's super easy, just hit the like button. All right, Crypto Queen. I'm glad you also have came over and joined the live stream. I hope you find it enjoyable in this room that I've created, and we have tons of traders in here that are like-minded, but we're all doing different styles. So you'll be able to pick different things. You'll hear someone talking about VWAP. You'll hear someone else talking about a different strategy they're using, and so everyone's doing their own thing, and I encourage that. But me, I'm definitely using the ICT concept. So if you've studied ICT even a little bit, you'll completely understand where I'm coming from and the terminology I'm using. All right, so price is completely just falling apart on us. Not really doing anything. It's back at the origin, but just sitting here. 865 and a half. Hi, DJ. Hello. All right, we have equal lows being swept now, right here. A dig back into the fair value gap. So I'm not sure we're going to get anything higher than what we already had. Yeah, I'll give it one more candle to close, and then we'll consider ending the stream. Any last questions? Any last questions while we're waiting? All right, everyone. I think that'll do it for this session. I hope I answered all your questions. I hope you had a good time with us this afternoon, and that your trading has at least not not gotten worse since you've been in the room. Hopefully, it improved. But if not, continue to chime in. You'll continue to learn. You'll get better at mastering your trading style and your trading model. And before you know it, you will be a funded trader, and you'll be moving towards the financial goals you have set for yourself. Um, but until then, I'll sign off now. I'll say thank you again to everyone who's still here, everyone who joined and already signed out. And until next time, happy trading. Cheers.